number 109 of the so-called sports analyst. Josh, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, you know. Spurs got a big pick in the draft lottery. I know it's been a while since I've been on a pod, probably like a couple weeks, honestly, which is the
I think so. Yeah.
weird to actually think about. But I haven't been able to get my thoughts on that. I'm pretty excited about what our offseason is going to hold, whatever direction we go in. And just I don't know, this playoffs has been pretty exciting. We have a a renewal of the Knicks versus Pacers, and then we see the Thunder versus Timberwolves on the other side, and I can't wait to talk about it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But before we get into it, find us on Twitter at Flying Garcia 100 underscore Alfonso 03. Find us on Twitch, Discord, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube under TSCSA or the so-called sports analyst. And whether you listen to this live or another day, we appreciate it. Make sure you share this to anybody that likes sports. But like Josh was saying, because I know I recorded a solo pod, but I kind of I kind of want to bring this back up. We kind of want to bring this back up. The draft lottery that happened. Josh mentioned it. So again, this draft lottery, Dallas is one, Spurs two, Sixers three, Hornets four, Utah five, Washington six, Pelicans seven, Brooklyn eight, Toronto nine, Houston 10, Portland 11, Chicago 12, Atlanta 13, and the Spurs once again with the 14th overall pick. So, Josh, just initial thoughts. Initial thoughts from just this draft lottery right here.
Initial thoughts on the lottery is like, damn, like the top three teams that sucked all season just didn't even weren't even in the picture at the end. I mean, the Hornets were right there. They ended up with the fourth pick, and then we see the Mavericks ultimately get the first and Spurs second, and then the Philadelphia 76ers third, which was probably the bet. Three of those were probably in the entire draft lottery were the best possible situations that Cooper Flag probably could have went to. I think I don't favor the Philadelphia 76ers on his side, but for sure for the Mavericks and the Spurs, I think both fits would have been perfect for him. And the Mavericks, I think, probably ultimately being the best one, you know, with already proven players around him like a Klay Thompson immediately, and then even an Anthony Davis immediately. It's just kind of weird how that works out. I know there's a lot of like rigged speculation. I don't buy into all of that. I just don't like watching the game in that kind of mindset. I like enjoying it for what it is, and just them ultimately walking away with that with the pick of Cooper Flag. I think that's going to be really big for the Dallas Mavericks moving forward. I think a lot of people looked at their future because they don't have a lot of draft capital. They don't have a lot of younger players on their roster, a lot of expiring contracts, guys you have to re-sign, like a PJ Washington, Kyrie Irving, even. I think getting Cooper Flag, especially pairing him with Kyrie, who I think will resign, but will ultimately take a pay cut in year one due to his injury, and then Anthony Davis, it's going to add that that extra two-way player that they probably need, especially a big defender like Cooper Flag is, who bar none, I believe is going to be all defensive player for years to come. Especially, I think next year in year one he can make an all defensive team. 6'10", 7 foot on wingspan. I think that's the makings of a great defender in the NBA, especially with his athleticism. They need that type of player, especially pairing him up with Derek Lively as well. So they're already going to have one of the best defensive groups in the entire NBA. Just a matter of what he can do offensively in year one, maybe around 17 points per game. I think that's going to be very much needed for the Dallas Mavericks moving forward.
Yeah, no, and then the biggest thing that we brought up is that can he be a number one scorer on a team? That was his biggest concern.
He can
And
definitely
even at
develop
that,
now into
yeah,
one.
he could develop into one. And I think the biggest comp, still, Josh, I know we talked about it yesterday. What's his floor? I still can't think of really a floor for him because defensively, he's all there. Like you kind of knew with Wimby, with Chet, and now with Cooper Flag, you just know the defense is going to be there in this modern day and age. He has a rim protection and he could guard out on the perimeter.
One through
So
five. Mhm.
I just think that I don't know. Defensively, he's going to be one of the best players the next 10, 15 years. But offensively, that's just the biggest thing. And Jason Tatum, that's what it is. You know what? I'll say this since it's a floor, I'll say his floor is Draymond Green. That's like if he doesn't develop as a scorer at all.
But I think he's way more athletic than Draymond Green, which is the thing. So it's like I don't even think that's a good comparison. Like I feel like
I, I'm just
I
trying to think of like defensively, he excels, and then offensively, like Draymond's one of the
he's
best
gonna. I think he's
playmakers.
gonna be better than Draymond offensively, no matter what.
I think so too. I think so too. But I'm just saying, like, bar none, worst case scenario. But
Maybe
I want to
Pascal
ask you this.
Siakam.
Pascal Siakam,
I I think that's a floor right there. I think that's a good floor.
that might be a good one right there. Yeah, that might be a good one. No, but I want to ask you this. So with the Mavs, now that you're gonna, let's be real, they're gonna draft Cooper Flag,
Yeah, that's
and now they
no
have
questions
Daniel.
about it.
Now they have Daniel Gafford, and they have Derek Lively. So would you let go? Obviously, Daniel Gafford, he looks
Yeah,
like the main
Daniel
man out
Gafford's the
right
odd
here.
man out
Yeah.
if it's gonna be anyone. I mean, I think they believe in Derek Lively quite a bit, and I think he is the better player overall.
Yeah.
Daniel Gafford, don't get me wrong though, if he goes to a contender, he's gonna be a really huge asset. Like let's say the Lakers at the Lake. I mean, but I don't think the Mavericks make another move with the Lakers anytime soon. But if he were to move to the like if he were to move to a team with a much needed center and defensive help, it would definitely be like a team like the Lakers or even like just
Yeah.
another contending team that's looking to add an asset to in their starting lineup, he would definitely be a huge piece for them. He's a really good player. It's just when you look at the in hindsight, um, into the future, how is your team going to work in the direction you want to go? You definitely want to keep your younger blue chip players like Derek Lively, who I don't think he's that a blue chip prospect per se, but he's
Yeah.
definitely a much needed player for your kind of rebuild after the Kyrie Irving and Anthony Davis era ends in about 1 to 2, 3 years. You have those type of guys with Derek Lively and Cooper Flag, and you can build around those two. And then obviously Anthony Davis is going to stay, and Kyrie Irving is going to continue to get healthy.
Okay. One more question here. Just revisionist history after the whole Luka Doncic trade and everything. So now, do you think that the Mavericks next year are going to be contenders for sure? Even though Kyrie Irving probably won't be back till February, Marchish. Anthony Davis, I know he has health concerns,
Hmm.
but are they back for sure in title contention next year?
I think for I don't know about title contention. I won't say that too definitively, but I think definitely a playoff team, top six team in the Western Conference. I will give them that. I just think they need to go out and target a point guard to hold it down for a little bit. I think maybe with this type of offense that they're going to have with a lot of guys that can shoot, guys that can run the court. I think you need a player that can also do that. If he can stay healthy, maybe Alonzo Ball could be a person that they target next year for to do that, to be like a run and gun type of player for them that can run the offense, play great defensively. The only thing the question mark with Lonzo Ball is health. Health is the biggest question mark with him, and you're already dealing
Yeah.
with that with your own point guard. And maybe another player could be like a Tyus Jones who does play good, who has really good high efficiency when it comes to shooting, can run an offense, or even Trey Jones. You know, you can bring in those type of
Yeah.
players that can maybe run your offense. And but we also can't forget that Spencer Dinwiddie is there at this time,
Mhm.
so he can also
Yeah.
hold it down as well. I just think they need to bring in another point guard that can kind of step in when needed to make big plays for this team.
Yeah, no. Yeah, no, for sure. Or I was thinking something along the lines of maybe Cooper Flag, for him being a rookie, he's a really great
Yeah, and
passer.
maybe develop him into the
So
point
he
forward
could point forward.
that his
Yeah,
potential
the
has.
point forward. Yeah. Yeah, so I'm thinking maybe that, or there's Fred Van Vliet. Well,
VanVleet's
you're
going
gonna
to
have
be
to
too
resign Kyrie.
expensive.
Yeah, there's James Harden. There's those. I'm just listing all of these guys. There's a Dennis Schroeder out there. There's Chris Paul. I don't know if he'd go. So it's different names. Maybe not the star power, but there's definitely his name. But all right, I know you've been waiting to talk about this one right here. So the San Antonio Spurs, they have the number 2 pick right here. And okay, two separate questions right here. So if the Spurs keep the second overall pick, first, who do you want? And the other question is, if they trade that pick away, who would you want it to be for, and why?
So if I was looking at it from like right after the draft, I was thinking Ace Bailey, probably just because of fit. You know, 6'7". We need a small forward. We need someone that can create shots,
Six
but
seven.
defensively he lacks a lot. But after doing like deeper research and into like who I would want, it would definitely be Dylan Harper without a doubt. I think Dylan Harper is the better player of the two. If a matter of fact, if it wasn't for Cooper Flag, he'd be the number one draft pick in the last two classes, no matter what. I really do truly believe that. He has a good shooting form. It can be developed. He has good form when it comes to shooting. He's not great in efficiency, but he can definitely develop into being a good shooter that we've seen well, kind of what Stephon Castle developed towards the end of the season last year. Beginning, he was shooting around I believe 28% from three. Then towards the end of the season, he improved to 37, 38. I think that's really great improvement. We can see that kind of jump from Dylan Harper towards to start the season because I think he's already a better shooter than Stephon Castle was to enter the NBA. I think he can definitely develop into closer to a 38, 39% three-point shooter for the season. And if we get that type of player and pair him alongside Stephon Castle and De'Aaron Fox, where we both seen Dylan Harper himself say that the NBA is more of a not a positionless basketball type of league now. And it is
Yeah.
true. And also, if we look at his stats at Rutgers, he's one of the better off ball players in the entirety of college basketball, where he can run around and kind of create opportunities for himself in that way as well. I would love to see the Spurs draft him and add another blue chip prospect to already Stephon Castle and Victor Wembanyama that we can build forward for the future. I understand we have De'Aaron Fox, but if we make this move, I don't even think we have to re-sign De'Aaron Fox, which is the thing. De'Aaron Fox can help us go for a run this season alone, or we can even sign and trade and bring in some assets for De'Aaron Fox because there is still a market for De'Aaron Fox. Don't get this wrong.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of things that made it difficult for a lot of teams last year was that he was on an expiring contract to where, a lot of teams don't want to take that risk. And right now we can do a sign and trade. Not this year, but possibly next year, where we can kind of move him off the books and bring in some draft assets or even a forward or a 3-and-D player that we much need. But as far as like my thoughts on the hindsight with also regarding trade opportunities, I think this sets up the Spurs to have one of the better off seasons of any team in the entire NBA. If we're being completely honest, they still have all their young players. I think we make this move. Devin Vassell is for sure gone. I hate to say it. I love Devin Vassell, but when you bring a guard, especially a guard that immediately has higher upside than he does, you kind of want to move off of that player, especially on a contract where you're going to be paying him around 32 million, I believe, within the next couple of years. And so if we were to trade this pick, I think you only trade this pick for one guy and one guy only, and that's Giannis Antetokounmpo. And I really don't want to move this pick for anyone else. If we're being completely honest, I don't think anyone on the trade market right now is worth that kind of opportunity. Kevin Durant and his age, I think that's more likely moving a contract off the books of the Phoenix Suns and matching contract offers. Let's say with like Harrison Barnes, Keldon Johnson, and
Yeah.
Devin Vassell, and then we can throw in our 14th overall pick along with maybe 2 other first round picks or just 1 first round pick. And I think that's enough just to go get Kevin Durant. And I think that's the move that the Spurs are going to try making. And then as far as Giannis is the big one. Giannis, you're going to move the number 2 or Stephon Castle. I think this gives us the opportunity to pick though. If we're going to move for Giannis,
Yeah.
you're either getting Steph or you're getting the number 2 overall pick. No, not both. I think that's really what it's going to be. You have because I think both carry heavy weight heading into that discussion. Especially do the Bucks go look at the prospect of Dylan Harper or what they've seen in Stephon Castle and they pick between those two as the headliner of the package, then you include players like Jeremy Sohan, Keldon Johnson, multiple first round picks from other teams. Because if you're trading Giannis to us, obviously we're no longer going to be a bottom of the barrel team. We're going to be one of the top teams in the entire Western Conference. And with Giannis paired with Wemby. So definitely you're definitely going to receive a big package with the number 2 or Steph with Keldon, Jeremy Sohan, Devin Vassell maybe, and then multiple first round picks.
I got a question for you, Josh. So this is just hypothetical here because after what the GM, he pretty much said he's going to gut out the entire team or unless it's just 2 crazy pieces. What if, as is, let's just play hypothetical here. I don't know if the Spurs, they have this, even the salary cap to make this match. Stephon Castle and number 2, that's it for Giannis. No other trade package at all. So you're basically a 2 for 1.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes sense. It makes sense for them too.
I
They're
don't
not
know.
asking crazy assets. Again, this is fantasy land. No salary cap.
No
Don't
salary
include salary.
cap. If I could make that move, would I do it? Yes, I would. I think I would
Yeah.
because we would have De'Aaron Fox. That would ultimately lead to us. We would immediately become an old team. No, we wouldn't. We would still have our young guys around. But I think honestly that would fit into our offense very well and our defense especially. I think a lot of people are I don't people are think are realizing the fact of defensively what a team of Victor Wembanyama and Giannis would
And
do
Giannis.
to the entire NBA, and especially rebounding. Rebounding would be insane with these two. We would dominate the boards and dominate defensively because let's say we trade for another player. Like I've seen a lot of people like say like a Nick Claxton or like even Kristaps Porzingis or players along those lines to kind of bring in. Um, those would not work. They would work, but Victor Wembanyama would kind of move away from his traditional anchor on the defensive end within the paint, where Giannis can roam alongside the perimeter or guard the next best the best perimeter player on the other team and allow Wemby to kind of roam around the paint like he has been doing, that would be scary for
Yeah.
teams because you would get the two best defenders, bar none, no argument in the entire NBA on the same basketball team. And then offensively, you would be able to put Victor Wembanyama on the perimeter and just let Giannis go to work inside the paint. It would just be too hard. It would be like
It
Brook
just be a
Lopez
full
on
out offense.
steroids.
Yeah.
When Brook Lopez was healthy and playing very great basketball outside of this year, that would be Brook Lopez on absolute like supernova with Victor Wembanyama
Yeah.
on the outside. And it would be really, I think it would be unstoppable on both sides of the court for both teams. I would just hate to see Stephon Castle go and the opportunity of drafting Dylan Harper. But if we get to keep Devin Vassell, put Jeremy Sohan maybe at the 3 or have him coming off of the bench with Keldon Johnson, we would have easily, and I believe if we make that move as well, hypothetically, we bring Chris Paul back and let him run the second team. It would
Yeah.
just be too easy, especially having Harrison Barnes as well. It would just wouldn't
Yeah.
and put him at the 3. We would have ultimately the best defensive lineup in the entire NBA.
Yeah. No, I was just thinking that because
But that would
I
never
think,
happen because contractually the
yeah,
Spurs would
because
need to offload
contracts and
contracts.
I know there's that. And well, we talked about it before. And even so, I don't know if you saw this report too. The Rockets, they're thinking about including Sengun into a Bucks trade package. So it seems like they're choosing Jalen Green over Sengun. So maybe they could offer something. Obviously, they're still OKC. But let's talk about this third team right here, the third team in the draft lottery right here, the Philadelphia 76ers.
Mhm.
So I want to get your opinion on this. So we already know Cooper Flag, Dylan Harper, no matter if he goes to San Antonio or goes to Milwaukee or if somehow gets traded, Dylan Harper's going number 2. So the Sixers, they have Jared McCain, Tyrese Maxey, Joel Embiid, Paul George. They have those guys. So they have two different directions right here. They could either draft Ace Bailey, which I'll let you get into what you think of him, or trade that pick for somebody else. So what do you think they should do?
Honestly, I think like the Spurs, the Philadelphia 76ers definitely won the draft as well. I mean, obviously the Mavericks ultimately won, but all these top 3 teams put themselves in better opportunity than what they possibly could have imagined because I forgot how it went in the draft lottery where the Philadelphia 76ers actually lost out on even being in the top 10 in the lottery because
Mhm.
their pick that they had ultimately, I forgot
Belong to
what
the
team.
Kings.
Yeah, to the
Belong to the
Kings
Kings. Yeah.
ultimately fell out, so they ended up losing an entire draft pick. So they were definitely, the odds were not in their favor, but then I believe the pick that they had with Oklahoma City Thunder ultimately went to another team, and so they jumped into the top 3 automatically, and you can definitely see Elton Brand and Daniel Morey and all them kinda, like, have a sigh of relief when they started laughing and fell on the table that they were
Yeah.
sitting at. They were like, "Oh, thank God." So they ended up having the best possible situation they probably couldn't have even imagined heading into this draft, and they end up getting the number 3 overall pick. It sets them up. I think they can ultimately look to trade. They can look to trade, bring in a couple players. I don't think they're in the market for like a Giannis because a Giannis or even a Kevin Durant, but they can definitely move backwards in this draft and receive some more assets, and then even draft a player like a VJ Edgecombe, who is ultimately at play still at the number 3 position. I think a lot of people after the draft combine are have a little bit of question marks around Ace Bailey, especially when it comes to his height, who he was marked up at Rutgers at 6'10", comes out at 6'7", and then they looked at a lot of his intangibles when it came to physical attributes. He didn't really blow people away with what he showed there. And guys like Trey Johnson and VJ Edgecombe, who on their parts definitely rose up draft boards, and Kellen Malak as well. You can look at these type of players that you want to make moves for. But Ace Bailey ultimately has the most potential of any of those players, especially offensively. He's been compared to Kevin Durant, which I think is kind of unfair to compare a kid to Kevin Durant, but he definitely has good scoring upside ability. And drafting that guy, you can slide him into number 3, maybe let Kelly Oubre walk and let him develop around players like Jerry McCain and Tyrese Maxey and look to see what you do with Joel Embiid if he can't stay healthy this season.
So I've been looking at reports, and so Daryl Morey has a very great track record of trading that number or a top
Yeah,
3 overall
I
pick.
think he does trade it.
And there's two separate guys that keep popping up. First, a Paul George, a number 3 pick for Kevin Durant. That one's popping up, or a package for Laurie Markkinen.
See,
So,
we know what else I could think of too, who would might
mm,
want to move into that top spot, maybe go get a Cameron Johnson or a Cam Thomas.
okay, maybe get like just assets.
Cameron Johnson and some
Get get
assets.
get Cam Johnson, Cam Thomas. that wouldn't be too bad, honestly. That'd fit their roles. But also, they're thinking about number 3 and Paul George to try to get off the contract too.
I don't think I think the market for Paul George is the thinnest is possibly going to be at
Well,
this
it
moment.
seems
But
like
for get to
uh,
get Lowry marketing, I could see if you want to swap contracts because both those contracts are very bad contracts, upwards in the
yeah,
40 millions. You would definitely
yeah,
want to move on. I'm pretty sure the Jazz would want to send Lowry marketing to a contender, but they would have to carry on a contract for that expire because I think Lowry has 4 years left on his contract while Paul George still has
yeah.
two. So I think they would want to
Oh
like
no,
let's
Paul
take.
George will apply for 211.
Oh, never mind
Remember
then.
he
Yeah,
signed that
so
5 for
so you're
211. Yeah,
you put yourself. I don't think the Jazz make that move. I think that puts them in bad positions both ways. I think they want to look to maybe move for a player. Who was I thinking? I saw reports of if they were to trade up in this draft. Oh, dude, I'm going blank. But let's say with the Phoenix Suns, if they want to make a move with Kevin Durant to go
yeah,
get like if they want to make a move to send Larry Markin into the Phoenix Suns and the Suns keep Kevin Durant, they go get the contract of Bradley Beal on for 2 years.
yeah.
That expires in 2 years rather than 4 years of Larry Markin. They take that hit for 2 years. I don't know. Maybe that's a move that they try making. I just don't see that working for them bringing on Paul George for another 5 years.
Well, I just think that it kind of makes sense for the Jazz because they're pretty much in purgatory at this point where they're not winning any draft lotteries. They're staying. I know they have the 5th overall pick, so let's just say they get they get Paul George and number 3 and Laurie Markkinen goes. You have number 3 and number 5, so you could get maybe an Ace Bailey, and then you get a. I know it'd be kind of the same position, but there's a Jeremiah Fears or a VJ Edgecombe. There's those guys. You know what I mean? And Paul George can kind of
Con
be the
Canoopo's also
veteran.
rising up draft boards as well.
That's true. That's true. So I'm just thinking as far as like, oh no, it was 4 for 211. So actually it's a 3. There would be 3 years left. So it's not as bad. It's not as bad. It goes 49 million, 51, 54, 50. Ooh, 56. Ooh.
Maybe they want to make
That
that move to get off 1 year earlier from Lowry Markin, get off a contract 1 year earlier. Maybe that could be
yeah.
a possibility.
Yeah, no, maybe, but is there anything else in
Do
this
you
draft lottery that you're interested in
I think
right
there's a
here?
lot of good prospects as well. I'm not
Mhm.
gonna go too deep, but maybe player there. I think there's players like VJ Edgecombe whose best fits I think is gonna be at Charlotte. You know, he can fit right between Brandon Miller and
Yeah,
Lamelo Ball, be that 3 and D player that they desperately need. If we look at the two guys from Duke, Calum
yeah.
and Con Canuple, both those guys draft stock is rising quite a bit. And if
There's
you look
Trey
at
Johnson.
Caleb Malak is getting a lot of hype because the potential he possesses. You know, only playing basketball starting at the age of 16, I believe. So he still has a lot to develop into his game. He's already an okay player when it comes defensively and rebounding, but I think there's a lot of potential for him to be great with being 7'1" and having a big wingspan and be able to run the court as well. Con
Mhm.
Canuple, I think there's a lot of hype for Con Canuple. We may see him rise up a
Yeah,
lot of draft boards come draft
that's
time because
true.
I think a lot of people are looking at that UNC game where he ran the team basically all by himself, and they can see that he can
Yeah,
all possibly handle the ball as well while being the best shooter in the entire draft. He can definitely develop into a defensive player. It's just how high do you want to draft him? And then Trey Johnson as well, who was arguably the best scorer outside of Cooper Flag in all of
mhm.
college basketball. What he was able to do at the draft combine really show out in front of the scouts. He's rising up possibly to that number 3 range at the Philadelphia 76ers, which is, I don't know if it would be a good fit for him, but honestly, I think teams are done drafting best fit available in the NBA. I
Yeah,
think they're looking for best player. We've seen that bite teams multiple times, especially like that Marvin Bagley over Luka Doncic
Patrick
type.
Williams.
Yeah. So
Bro,
I don't know.
you know what
This
the
this
Bulls
draft's
they
pretty.
said?
This draft's
Yeah.
pretty nasty, bro. If you look at
What
some of the
about
players,
that?
Asa
There's two
Anewell
France
from
guys.
Georgia.
There's a Noah
I'm not.
Masenga,
No, Naomi
and then
Traore. I think that's his name. Something like that.
uh,
Yeah, it's Traore
there's like a
something.
Noah, and then like a
Singa.
what's his name?
I
Joan
just looked into them yesterday, but
Berninger
no.
something.
I'm not a big fan of the one that's going in the lottery. I think it's Traore. I think don't if I'm
Mhm.
saying if I'm totally butchering that, I apologize. But
Perfectly fine.
He offers no
Oh,
shooting.
Nolan Trayor.
Nolan
Nolan
Trayor. I
Trayor.
would say no me Trayor, but Nolan Trayor, I don't think he offers anything shooting wise, which is not good
Yeah.
in today's NBA.
Yeah.
And then I know the Michigan State point guard, Jace Richardson, son of Jason Richardson,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
he's falling because he listed to only 6 foot flat without
Damn.
shoes. And so, but what he's able to do offensively that he did at Michigan State does offer a lot. Maybe he goes like 15 to 17 range. But that 6 foot frame in today's NBA, where point guards are 6'5", 6'6", like Cade Cunningham, you don't want that type of guy out there guarding those guys. You have to
Yeah.
put. It just wouldn't be a good fit for a lot of teams. I feel like it's just I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see where players fall in this draft. Like players like Asa Anul or even
Igor
Thomas
Denmark.
Sorber. Yeah, yeah, or Thomas
Yeah.
Sorber.
Mhm. I
Queen, what's
wonder
his
where
name?
Derek Queen goes.
Yeah,
Derek
Derek
Queen.
Queen. All those
Yeah.
type of players who are good rim protectors. I mean, Asa Anul's a better than I think Derek Queen
Yeah.
defensively, but Thomas Sorber is as well. So I wonder if those guys rise above him come draft time.
Yeah. No, we'll see. There's always definitely some moves by draft time that definitely don't see coming. Or I think there's going to be a lot more trades this draft
I
time
think
around
especially
than
with
years
not
prior.
contenders, but playoff teams that should be in the playoffs, like the Sixers and Spurs, being up there. I think it's going to make
Mhm.
a lot of teams move forward
Yeah. No, I think so
or
100%.
try
But
to move forward.
yeah, I could see number one for sure. They're drafting Cooper Flag, but
If they don't,
honestly,
oh my gosh, the
two, three,
riots would be
five.
insane.
Nico Harrison, he's got another year.
If they
He's
move for
got an.
Giannis, if they move for Giannis though,
I still wouldn't.
I don't
I
know.
honestly I still wouldn't because then you'd really be mortgaging your future. Like I already know you did, and then the basketball gods gave you a break, Nico Harrison. So don't screw this up. You can't
Oh,
mess up
one more
twice.
thing. Do you think the draft lottery needs to change?
No,
I
uh,
personally don't.
I don't think so because it favors teams that don't tank. You know what I mean? It favors them. And okay, I know, like I kind of mentioned last time, it looked like it's kind of rigged, like just joking around. Hopefully, nobody took me serious. These guys, these 30 NBA owners, they have investors or advisors there at the NBA draft lottery, and they pay them a six-figure salary just to watch the lottery. You really think that somebody's going to be fine with, oh, okay, you know what? The Mavs traded away Luca, perfectly fine giving away generational talent to them, like the Wizards or Utah or Charlotte. You think they're fine with that? No, I think that's dumb. And okay, let me ask you a question, kind of like flipping it back to you. Do you think the NFL should establish this with the top 10 picks? Not not all 30, not all 30,
No,
but
I think
10
they should do
picks.
it with the top four.
The top
I think
four?
top four, like how the NBA does. I think every other, like all the teams that finish in the bottom of the top four, top 10, no, because I still think there's teams, let's say like the Cowboys or the 49ers, who are playoff teams. It's just
Yeah.
situations this year didn't go their way, especially with injuries. Um, those teams you don't want getting a top four pick. Let's just be completely. I know you're a Cowboys fan, but like I think teams like
Yeah,
this,
overall consensus, yeah.
yeah. But I think the difference is like I know basketball, one player can change the trajectory of your franchise, but the fact that it's only one of 15 players, I think giving the other teams opportunities to draft that one player is better than adding like, let's say like, I don't know, dude. It's just hard to say. I really think that it should be left alone to the top three or top four if they're going to do some type of lottery format for the NFL.
Well, if anything, it would be something like, you know how where they had the older rules where as far as it would be like 20% for the top three or four teams, something like that. Then
Hmm.
everybody else they get like slim odds, something like that. Or maybe top eight. Top eight, maybe make it a little bit more interesting.
Top eight could be a good sweet spot. I feel like that would be cool if they were going to go for a lottery. I think, but the thing is, why I like the NBA's format now, and I understand I've been getting a lot of like
A
the
lot of benefit of the
love of the
doubt. Yeah.
lottery because of
It's easy
Wimby,
for you
because of
to say
Stephon
that.
Castle, because of Dylan Harper 1, 4, and 2 in the last 3 years. But I'm tired of seeing great players waste their careers in terrible situations. Like I legit in the NBA, it's harder to watch than the NFL. I feel like I
Yeah.
don't know. Then NBA, you can just watch a player be great and his team's just not doing nothing. Like we saw DeMarcus Cousins for years go through that. We saw John Wall go through that. We see LaMelo, even though partly it's probably due to his style of play as
It's partly
well.
his fault too.
But
Yeah.
still, if he would probably be on a better team, it would definitely elevate his game quite a bit. Zion, I know Zion, the Pelicans have been good. It's kind of on his own accord. So I'm not going to use that like I thought. But mostly like, I
Kate
know,
Cunningham.
yeah, Kate Cunningham. But honestly, it took a couple years. But just ultimately, there's always players that just waste their careers away on bad teams, and we even see it afterwards where players or even executives come out and say it's not the players' real fault; it's the system that they're in that doesn't work out
Yeah.
for them. So I don't know, but that's also in the NFL as well. So we see that come out as well. Like quarterbacks get wasted away because the
Yeah.
systems that they go to.
Like
So
Caleb Williams not being taught how to watch film his entire life, even by this coaching staff. It's crazy. Nah, but all right, Josh. Any other thing with the draft lottery before we get into predictions or this next year?
no, I think we're good, man. We can go and get into it.
All right, cool. Well, before we get into our predictions, we're not gonna go like in depth. Kind of what we did last time. A sentence for each one of these series that happened. So, so this is more just really quick right here. Let's start off with the Knicks versus Celtics, which the Knicks won in 6 games.
Who would have thought?
I, no words. That's my sentence right there. Cavs versus Pacers.
Domination.
Halliburton. That's all right. Wolves versus Warriors. Wolves 1-5.
Easy road.
No Steph, no competition. All right. Then this last one, which is the most competitive series of them all, OKC versus Denver, which OKC won in 7 games.
Masterpiece.
The real MVP for for a few guys, aka one guy, aka it's Damian, just was a Jokic guy. I appreciate him paying for my Airbnb pretty much. Nah, but all right. Which one you want to start off with first, Eastern or Western Conference?
Um, let's go Eastern Conference.
Eastern
No,
Conference.
let's go
All right.
Western. I think
Let's
Western is going to be the faster one to talk about, to be honest.
Okay. All right. Well, this first series right here is the Oklahoma City Thunder versus the Minnesota Timberwolves. This series, it starts today as of May 20th. OKC's favored by 7.5. They're the overall favorite. They're plus 150 in this series. So pretty much a coin flip at this point. So I want to ask you first, before you give real predictions, what do you seen from this series? What have you liked from their previous playoff series? Any X factors or anything?
Um, as far as the Oklahoma City Thunder, I think I've seen a lot of resilience from who they are. I think first round we definitely saw them dominate, but then we get to the second round versus a proven championship team with Nikola Jokic. They held their they they really held him in check the best possibility way you can hold Nikola Jokic in check, especially in those last 3 games where he was kind of struggling. He even had a game where he didn't even have a double double in this series. So they were definitely throwing a lot of bodies at him. I said this before. The best team to probably play against Nikola Jokic was going to be the Oklahoma City Thunder because they have Hartenstein, they have Chet Holmgren. They can constantly have players playing up on him. They have aggressive players like Jalen Williams and Alex Caruso, who can also step in as well, that kind of disrupt him a little bit. And we saw that in this series. It definitely
Yeah.
gave him problems at time, especially playing against a guy like Jalen Williams, who he didn't play very good against ultimately in this series. And then we saw Shea have his moments where he kind of struggled, but then towards the end of the games, he became that closer, that big time star that we know that he is, and shut the game down really quick. And they have just efficient 3-point shooting all the way around. As far as the Minnesota Timberwolves, I'm gonna be honest. I'm not impressed. I understand people are riding the coattail of. I know I picked the Lakers to win the championship and picked the Lakers in 5, but if I'm looking in hindsight and I'm being completely honest with myself, we're disregarding the love for Luka Doncic and LeBron James that I have. That team has no depth. That team does not have any players outside of those two that are really going to step up game in and game out and give them consistent minutes, especially Austin Reeves. Austin Reeves was nowhere to be found half the time. So it was definitely a cakewalk for them in that series. And then if we go and no big man, no real rebounding opportunity or help. And if you go into the second series, the same was there as well. You know, the mismatch problems that they would have received playing Stephen Curry the entirety of those last 4 games, it's because we saw what they did in game 1 with Steph and Curry. Those last 4 games without Steph and Curry, it just was terrible. They don't even have a backup point guard. If we're gonna
Yeah.
say anything, they don't have a backup point guard. They have no real big man that's really developed like a Quentin Post. We saw what's his name? Tyrion Jackson
Oh, Tyson Jackson Davis.
Tyson
Yeah.
Jackson, yeah, Tyson Jackson Davis. He's not even developed. He barely plays in the regular season, and he got real play time in the playoffs. So that's an easy road that they have had so far. And I understand other guys have stepped up, like Anthony. Like Anthony Edwards is going to do his thing no matter what. But ultimately, if we're really looking at the series, he did not have a good series versus the Golden State Warriors. It was very inefficient. He didn't have really great scoring outputs. He was shooting a lot and missed a lot. And then Julius Randle, they gave him a lot of praise, but when you're dominating Quentin Post and Jackson,
Yeah,
Tyson
Tyson Jackson Davis. Yeah.
Jackson Davis. I'm saying Jackson Tyson Davis, but yeah, him. I'm not impressed. I'm just not impressed. And then Rudy Gobert not having a center that can pull him out of the paint. Of course, he's going to have big games versus those type of guys. So ultimately, I just don't think this series is going to be good for the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Ooh. So, okay. Well, before I get onto that point, I'm gonna get onto your last point right here as far as like with the Timberwolves in this against the Lakers, they were just more athletic, more depth, more everything. So for sure, I
But I'm
understand
not
that point.
knocking players like Jaden McDaniels or stuff like
Yeah.
that. You know,
Yeah,
like
no.
they have good series, but it's easy to do that when you're not playing a team that's 12 deep like the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Yeah, I get that, but I'll say this as far as with the this last series versus the Warriors. Yes, the Warriors may not have the offensive output to keep up with the Timberwolves, which is why they won the next 4 games without Steph Curry. But their defense was one of the better or the best defense. They were the number 2 defense whenever it was Jimmy, Draymond, and Steph wasn't on the floor. So the defense was still tough, and good. That's why they kept them in ball games at this point. So Anthony Edwards, he kind of struggled. Julius Randle,
Yeah.
he
But you know
kind
who
of
the best defense in the NBA is? They're about to
it's
play it.
yeah. I know it's Oklahoma City Thunder. So I'll say this: it's what he did against the Warriors. It's definitely a great step because towards the latter part of the series, he started to kind of find his groove. He started to become more efficient, and he's going to need to be more efficient in this series. In all honesty, I think this is going to be a rock fight in this series. I see this series being 80-90 game or 80 to 90 point games right here because these teams have 2 of the best defenses in the league, and as far as just playoffs physicality, just athleticism, real physical, real fast. So, and I think both of these teams can guard their star players. They can guard. There's plenty of bodies that could be thrown at Shea. There's plenty of bodies that could be thrown at Ant. So I think it's going to come down to fourth quarter. Who's going to be making the tough buckets? And yes, I know Anthony Edwards has been making tough buckets, but also he's been, like you said, that's another point. He's been able to get to the rim at ease. But there's Isaiah Harvenstein. There's Jalen
There's
Williams.
Chet
There's
Holmgren.
yeah, there's
There's
Chet Holmgren. So there's plenty of bodies compared to previously. But I still think the Timberwolves defense can shut down the Thunder offense. And there's another point I wanted to throw out to you too. As far as the whole rest versus Russ debate right here, because the
I don't care
Timberwolves
for it.
they've pretty much been off since last Wednesday, and the the Thunder they've only been off for 48 hours. So is there going to be a little bit of a adjusting period versus the Thunder? Which honestly, you can't do that against the Thunder. You can't have an adjustment period versus the Thunder right here. So, and I know I said there shouldn't be no or there's not really any home court advantage here because both of these teams have defenses that could travel. But if the Thunder they go up 2-0 really quick,
It's over.
then yeah, it's over in all honesty because the Thunder, if you just let them, the only thing that stops them is their mental capacity, if that makes sense. As far as like getting through that clutch situation, like getting that championship experience, that's the only thing that's stopping them. And I
Mm-hmm.
know somebody's going to say, oh, well, the Wolves are more experienced. We just saw what they did to the Denver Nuggets, who have the better experience here. So,
The experience.
yeah, the peak.
They've won the championship
Yeah,
actually, so with a lot of the same core guys that they have on that team.
yeah, exactly. And Okay, now
All the
X
core guys,
factors.
actually.
X factors right here from both teams.
Hmm.
Who would it be?
I mean, if we're gonna look at the left side with the Minnesota Timberwolves, it's definitely gonna be X factor. Okay, X factor. I'm gonna say Julius Randle. I think I'm taking Shea and Ant out of this. Obviously, they're
Yeah, yeah, for
obviously
sure. Yeah,
the X factors. But
the
Julius
key
Randle,
guys.
can Julius Randle continue to do what he has been doing, and
Yeah,
playing against the Lakers and playing against the Warriors? That's gonna be a big question mark. I do not think so. Like I know it's gonna be um what they're going to look at. Oh, Julius Randle's really come alive in this playoffs. 24 points per game, 6 rebounds, 6 assists. 6 rebounds isn't going to cut it versus a team like the Oklahoma City Thunder who have rebounders for days. It's just I just think he's going to have to step up to a whole nother level than what he has been doing. And if we're going to look at an anchor, unless he's playing Isaiah Hartenstein, he's not going to be able to guard Chet Holmgren all the way to the perimeter. I just don't think he's going to be able to do it. We see him struggle against players like Victor Wembanyama all the time. We see him struggle against players like Luka Doncic, who was cooking him in that first series. We are not going to sit here when they get those switches. They're going to get those switches to SGA onto Rudy Gobert, and they better pray Rudy Gobert can stay in front of him. And they are going to look for those switches. And then if we look at if he can guard, and is he going to really out? He's the better player of the two, Isaiah Hartenstein and Jalen Williams. But we saw Nikola Jokic himself struggle against those two when it came to the offensive and rebounding for a per game basis. So I think both those players are going to have to really step up in a big way for the Minnesota Timberwolves. So those are my X factors per se. And as far as the Oklahoma City Thunder, it's going to be Jalen Williams. I think
mhm.
bar none, it's going to be Jalen Williams. I think everyone's going to agree. I believe Chet Holmgren needs to step up offensively for sure. 15 points per game is not going to cut it if you want to win a championship ultimately. But Jalen Williams being that number two option, I think he's going to have to continue scoring around that 20-point per game mark. But defensively, he's going to have to step up against players like maybe if he gets a switch onto Anthony Edwards or he's guarding a Julius Randle one on one, he's going to have to be that guy that steps up and makes big plays.
Yeah, no, I was kind of on the same line as you. I put secondary shot creators, and I think this series for the Wolves is going to be a big Julius Randle and Reed series because yes, the Oklahoma City Thunder, obviously they have Shea, Lou Dort, J Dub, Ihart, Chet Holmgren, Cason Wallace, Alex Caruso, Aaron Wiggins, but they really don't have big body forwards. You know what I mean? Because Chet, he's a little
But
bit
they run the
frailer.
court so
Ihart,
good. It's like,
yeah. So it's like Julius Randle, like you said, this needs to be his series, but Nas Reed as two. Nas Reed too, as far as like in the mid range or stretching out to the 3 point line. You know what I mean? Getting Isaiah Hartenstein out of there, getting Chet Holmgren out of there, so Ant can have a runway. Jaden McDaniels can have a runway, and like you said for the Thunder right here, I really like what J Dub did in the second quarter of Game 7 because it was looking really bad at first. Whenever I know they kind of made a run at the end, it was 26-21 at the end of the first quarter, the Nuggets versus Thunder. But then J Dub, I believe he had 17 points in the second quarter.
mhm.
If that J Dub shows up, this isn't a series, in all honesty. But it's just the biggest thing. Can he show up the way that we know he could show up?
They gonna slap Lou Dort on that boy, Anthony Edwards. I'm gonna let you know, bro. They gonna put Lou
Lou
Dort on him.
Lou Dort is the perfect guy to guard Anthony Edwards. In all honesty, the speed, the
Do you
strength.
think okay? Because I'm sorry to interrupt
Shout
you,
out
but
Lou Dort.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Do you think they bench Isaiah Hartenstein and start Chet Holmgren for this series? Like not bench him entirely, but like I mean like come off the second unit, like to kind of start the process of pulling Rudy Gobert out of the paint.
I I think in all honesty, I think Ihart's gonna guard Julius Randle and Chet's gonna guard Rudy Gobert. In all honesty, so Chet could kind of stay in that paint.
True, true. But
I
I think if the
I
switches
think
happen,
that.
that's a perfect switch for them also.
But
You know,
but
if they want to
also
stay.
but also I'll say this: the Wolves they never close with their starting lineup, which is usually Mike Conley, Anthony Edwards, McDaniels, Julius Randle, Rudy Gobert. Usually it's Dante, Nikhil Alexander Walker, whoever has the hot hand, and
But
then
Nas has been
Nas
playing
Reed.
terrible.
Yeah,
Like Nico Alexander Walker been
yeah.
playing pretty bad.
So it's probably going to be Dante. It's going to be Dante most likely, or they're going to go Mike Conley, Ant. McDaniels, Randall, and Nas Reed. You know what I mean? Nas Reed usually closes the game over Rudy Gobert. So that's another thing. So as far as Dante, Nas Reed, and Kill Alexander Walker, they're averaging over 20 minutes a game. So they're getting real PT in crunch time. So I don't think the starting lineup for the Wolves, they're gonna really be the closing lineup for them. But what's so scary about the Thunder, man, is that there's there's waves and waves and waves on on this bench unit. Like you're saying, there's Caruso, Kason Wallace, Aaron Wiggins, and you have Jalen Williams. Then you have Isaiah Joe. I don't know if Isaiah Joe's going to get more PT this series, but there's waves after waves after waves, and I think they're going to be too much. You know what? Prediction time already. So I have this going to 7 games right here, but like
Hmm.
I think this is gonna be it's gonna split the first two, it's gonna split the second two, then OKC they win the next two out of the three, game 5 and game 7. That's how I
Hmm.
have it.
I have it in 5.
Oh, you think it's a quick series?
Yeah, I think
Oh,
it's done. I don't think they have a Nikola Jokic on the other side. I understand Anthony Edwards is working his way up to being a top 5 player in the NBA, but he's not Nikola Jokic.
yeah. Okay. And also another thing, how come they haven't released MVP? They they need to make it how they used to make it, where MVP was released game 1 of the playoffs, where it's usually the home court. You know what I
Was it
mean?
game 1? It was game 1. It used to be game 1.
Because the only reason why I know for sure is because Derrick Rose. This is kind of bad right
Yeah,
here. Derrick Rose
he
against the
died that
Sixers.
series.
That game, he died that game. But all right, but all right, this next series right here, which it's the other side, the Indiana Pacers versus the New York Knicks right here. So one of these teams is going to be making the finals for the first time in a while. I think 2001
Pacers have
and
never made. Oh, have they made the final? Oh, yeah, they
yeah,
did.
with
They
Reggie
did.
Miller.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
did. They did.
2001, and I believe the Knicks were the year before in 2000. Yeah, the 99 2000 series. So that's when they made the final. So it's going to be a 20, 24, 25 year gap without making the NBA finals. So this one, obviously, the Knicks, they won in 6 games right here. Surprise the Celtics. Pretty much the same on the opposite side. The Pacers surprise the Cavs at 1-5 right here. Kind of same thing. What are your quick takeaways? What are your X factors? What are you just seeing from this series?
Okay, so I'm gonna start with the New York Knicks. I think the New York Knicks have been playing great basketball. They Jalen Brunson's been really stepping up. You know, he's turning into possibly could be after this year if they make something happen could be the greatest Nick of all time. And that's not even like glazing. That's not even like
Yeah.
dude. It's just legit. It's just legit. Most 40-point games of any player since over the last like what 6 years when it comes to playing in the playoffs. You know, he's just doing his thing. Karl Anthony Towns, like he's been playing great basketball. You know, no matter how much he wants to try using a New York accent in post game interviews, you know, he's still playing great basketball. We saw in that last closing game, he played really physically. He was getting to his spots. He was demanding the ball. I believe he only took 4 threes in that last game. So he was really pressing the interior. OG, Miles Bridges, Josh Hart. I mean, they all play hard. They all do what they need to do. I think a big factor in that last game was Miles McBride. You know, it's not going to show up in the entirety of the playoffs, but in that last game alone to close out the Boston Celtics, he stepped up in a big way. Um, the thing is, the thing is why they're going to lose this series, and I'm going to say it outright. They don't have enough depth. They don't have enough depth to keep up with a team like the Indiana Pacers over a 7-game series. I think the Indiana Pacers have 6 guys that are scoring in double digits. They have constant rotations, especially with TJ McConnell coming off the bench and Obi Toppin, Ben Shepherd. These guys offer something defensively and also offensively. I just believe in that what the Boston Celtics were doing in that last series was terrible basketball. They were settling for just trash threes. They were they just weren't playing. They weren't moving around the basketball like they usually do. Defensively, they were not showing up. But you know, a team that's going to show up offensively and a team that's not going to settle for for crap threes, it's going to be the Indiana Pacers. They constantly look for the open guy. They have 10 more assists per game than the New York Knicks do. Basically along the lines of everything, and they are the better team defensively. They're top 10 in the entire NBA when it comes to defense, and number 1 in the entire NBA when it comes to putting the basketball inside the hoop. They do that better than anybody in the entire NBA, and I believe they're top 3 also in assists. So they play to their strengths. They look for the open guy no matter what. We see guys like Pascal Siakam, Tyrese Halliburton, Miles Turner, Andrew Nembhard, Aaron Nesmith. We see these type of lineups, and people are like, okay, maybe when the second unit comes in, but you know who's coming off the bench? TJ McConnell, Obi Toppin, Benedict Mather, and they got these type of players. And they want to, if they want to shorten up to an 8-9 man rotation, they can do that. And we've seen players play big minutes and offer defensively, like Thomas Bryant. You know, I know he's not a big name anymore, but definitely he's coming in off the bench and doing the scrap work for this Indiana Pacers team. And I just think, I know the New York Knicks are top heavy. They run the court. They don't get tired. But I think you're going to get tired against a team that plays great transition basketball like the Indiana Pacers.
Well, I'm going to kind of go off your last point here. So the New York Knicks, they have 4 guys playing over 37 minutes per game.
That's a lot, bro.
And okay, let me tell you this. The Pacers have nobody in this entire playoff series that has played over 35 minutes per game.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of on the point that you're bringing, it's more going to be, are the Knicks going to burn out? And I think that's kind of been the biggest question mark this entire series.
And also,
we're going to see as the series goes on. No, you're good. Go ahead.
We see every other team. The reason why these teams are there is because injuries are not happening.
Yeah, and there's depth. There's plenty of depth. But I'll say this. There's definitely been a big gap for the Knicks to recover. It's been 4 days, you know what I mean? Because they're going to play tomorrow. They play after the OKC and Timberwolves series. And I don't know how it's going to split up after that.
For the Pacers.
Yeah, it's been a week for the Pacers. But what? They played Friday? What was Friday? Friday was the 16th? Yeah, Friday was the 16th. So they've had 3 full days. 3 full days to recover, and they haven't had to travel too. So they've been sleeping in their same beds and everything. So the Knicks, they're favored right here, minus 150. So it's pretty much a coin flip, same as the other series right here. Pacers are plus 150. So, okay, I'm going to go ahead and say this. I know we're going to disagree this series. We're not going to give away exact prediction yet. We're going to say that to the very end. But I'll say this. I just think that it's a matter of who's going to perform better in the clutch. And this has been the 2 most clutch players this entire postseason, Tyrese Halliburton and Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson has 42 clutch points. The second closest is Tyrese Halliburton with 26. So I know it's a big gap there, but I think this is a perfect example of, I wouldn't call the Pacers iso ball, but in the clutch, it kind of turns into iso ball with Tyrese Halliburton. So who's going to be the better isolation team at the very end? Is it going to be Brunson? Is it going to be Halliburton? And Tyrese has been playing at a top 10 level kind of this year. And what you've been saying as far as with the defense, yes, the Knicks, they had a great defensive series. Cat played well. Jalen Brunson played well because they just had a guard on the island. The Pacers, they're going to get that mismatch, but then they're going to put you in a blender. It's going to be catch and shoot after catch and shoot, catch, drive to the basket, catch, drive to the basket. It's a perfect example of a modern day Spurs basketball. That's pretty much what it is. There's no other way I could put it other than like, I feel like this is like 2013, 2014 Spurs basketball whenever they were just like, not necessarily one guy was dominant, but every single guy was just stepping up. You had the likes of Kawhi, you had Tony Parker, you had Tim Duncan, you had Patty Mills, Danny Green, you know what I mean? That all these other guys just waves. And I just think that's what it's going to depend down to. Who can make the more clutch shots at the very end, and also home court. Knicks have home court. I feel like this matters right here. I feel like compared to the last series, whoever wins these home games or steals a home game is going to end up winning this series. The Knicks are 4-2 on the road. No, they're actually 5-1 on the road. So is the Pacers. They're 5-1 on the road too. So who's going to win on the road? So let me ask you that. Who do you think is more likely to win a game on the road this series?
I'm going to take the team that moves the ball around, that finds the open guy no matter what, and it's the Indiana Pacers.
Okay. And all right. X factors here.
Um, X factors for the Indiana Pacers. Shoot, I mean, they play so like. I'm gonna have to say Pascal Siakam. I
Okay, I
for the
like
Indiana
that.
Pacers, I think he's the best offensive player. I mean, Tyrese Halliburton is arguable just because what he does all around, but Pascal Siakam offers a lot of mismatches against a lot of different players every single time he steps onto the court. There's really not like a player that can completely guard him, and I just don't see the New York Knicks offering somebody that can completely shut him down when it comes to
Yeah,
finding his spots because he's such like his just like I don't know, like the size that he presents offensively and especially being able to shoot and stretch the ball out and go inside. It's kind of just like he's like that. He's that mixture of all types of offensive game that you kind of don't want to see
yeah,
on the other side. And I believe if he has big games, if he's able to kind of keep that consistency that he's been doing, I just don't see the Pacers really slipping up a lot of the times. And if we're looking at the New York Knicks, it's going to be Karl Anthony Towns. Like
yeah.
bar none, Karl Anthony Towns. Karl Anthony Towns arguably he should be the best player in the series, but he's not. It's Jalen Brunson. I mean, if we're looking at like like if we look back,
Yeah,
who was the better player of all these guys? It was Karl Anthony Towns, the number one overall pick. Like let's be honest.
yeah,
But Karl Anthony Towns, he's not on his team the best player, but he has to play like the best player. I think for them to win this series, especially against a guy like Miles Turner. Who, for being honest, matches him in almost every single aspect of basketball. And Miles Turner is better defensively. So it's
yeah.
going to have to be where can he get his shots off and can he be the consistent shooter that he has been in his career and can he create opportunities in the interior for himself? I think it's going to come down to Karl Anthony Towns.
I agree with you as far as the Pascal Siakam. I feel like he's going to get the mismatches he wants, whether it's Josh Hart, whether it's Jalen Brunson. I don't think he's going to really attack Mikal Bridges or OG Anunoby, but I think it's going to be those two guys right there. And also, as far as Karl Anthony Towns, in the 3 games they played this year, this is crazy right here. Listen to this. In the 3 games they played this year, Karl Anthony Towns averaged 30 points, 12 assists, and 8 rebounds.
Mm-hmm.
So, so I agree with you 100%. You're going to need to see that Karl Anthony Towns play this series, albeit be regular season. The Pacers, they weren't as good defensively as they are now, but he's going to need to be that good to beat the Pacers. And honestly, all right, let's go ahead and get into prediction time. I honestly don't love my pick at all, mostly because I got the Damian curse on my side. So usually whenever Damian and I have the same pick, I'm kind of cooked here. But I have Knicks in 7 here. I think that home court is going to matter this game. I think when it comes down to clutch situation, because there's going to be at least 2-3 games that come down to the clutch.
Yep.
Not that I don't trust Tyrese Halliburton. It's just Jalen Brunson is just on a different level right now. He hasn't underperformed in any clutch situation. Maybe that's kind of working against him, or maybe it's kind of helping him out. Hey, all I'm saying is that Pope Leo the 14th went to Villanova. That's all I'm saying. Maybe it's a year of Villanova. That's all I'm saying. Maybe it's a year of Villanova. So I have the Knicks in 7, and I feel like this is going to be the better series out of the two. I know I have Thunder and Timberwolves in 7, but I think this one's going to be an even better series as far as seeing clutch play down the stretch.
Mm-hmm. I have the Indiana Pacers in 6. I think the New York Knicks are going to win 2, maybe at home. But I just think the Indiana Pacers, what they offer is, the Celtics didn't live up to the standard, and I don't think the Pacers are
Yeah,
going to stray away from what they do the best, and that's move the ball around. And I think people are underestimating depth. I think people say that the Knicks maybe have depth, but no, there's not a team that has
yeah.
besides the Thunder that has more depth on their basketball team, I think, in the entirety of the playoffs this year than the Indiana Pacers have to offer because no matter what, they're going to have guys coming in waves to score offensively and play defense. And I just think that's going to be too much ultimately in a 7-game series for the New York Knicks.
Yeah, I can definitely see this being flipped the other way rather than the OKC and Timberwolves series. I feel like that one, I'm 100% confident. If I had a bet on that one, I definitely would. This series right here, I would not want to put no money. I'm honestly like terrified of that Knicks pick here. I could easily see in this being like Pacers in 5. I could really see that being this way if the Pacers they stay at the level that they're at right now. So, in all honesty, this one it's a scary pick. I'm just hoping for good hoops here. All right. Any other takeaways from these two series right here before we get into our draft?
Um, No, I think we're good. I think we said all our piece on those
Yeah.
series.
Or let me write this down. You said Pacers in 6, right?
Yep.
All right. And I have Knicks in 7. Okay, cool. All right, let's go ahead and get into our fantasy draft right here. You want to do 8 or you want to do
Let's do
10, man?
10.
10? All right. And you know what? I'll let you go first here, Josh.
Okay, hold on.
I feel like being kind. Let's go PG. Okay.
All right, number 1, give me SGA.
What a shocker. What a shocker there. Let me finish writing these down.
No, right now. Right now.
You're right. Where do you want SGA at?
The 1.
You want him at the 1? Okay. Okay. Well, I have to go with him right here. He's the second most talented player right here. Give me Ant right here at my 2.
Hold on. Well, then give me. Oh shit! Hold on. Dude, just got. I don't know what I want to go right here.
Yeah, I know. If you don't pick him, I'm picking him.
I know.
But it's not gonna match. It's not gonna match it.
Yeah.
You can take him?
As my 6th man, give me Jalen Brunson.
Okay.
We having people come off in waves, brother.
Yeah. You know what? This is perfect right here. I love this right here. Give me Tyrese at my point guard right here.
Nice. Yeah.
Honestly, Tyrese Halliburton would be the perfect fit for Anthony Edwards. Honestly, I feel like that would be the greatest fit for him. Like for a younger guy who's ascending.
Mm-hmm. All right. At my 4, give me Cat.
Damn it. I thought you were gonna go with somebody else here. Okay. Let's see. I kind of think I know where you're trying to go, but I'm not gonna let you go there. So give me Chet.
Damn it. I was gonna put him at my 5.
Yeah,
I was
no,
gonna put him at my 5.
Yeah, no, I want. Should I have Chet to match? You know what? I'm gonna have Chet to match Cat. I'm gonna have Chet to match Cat. I might change that around, but as of right now, I'm gonna have Chet right there.
All right, at my 3, give me Pascal Siakam.
I like that. Okay.
Ooh, that's pretty nasty for a 3 because he can play all 5 positions.
Nah. Check this. I'm gonna go ahead and add on into it, and I'm gonna go ahead and give my 5 right here. Give me Miles Turner right here.
Yeah, that's where I was gonna go.
Perfect compliment next to Chet. Bro, I'm gonna have a 5-out offense with Hallie, bro.
Mm-hmm.
That's gonna be nasty.
All right.
Okay. Okay, I like this.
Damn.
I like this. I already know where I'm going next if you pick one of these players.
You know what, man?
Please don't do it.
Let's move these players around a little bit. Let's move Cat to my 5. I know that's gonna be that's not gonna be very good for my likings defensively at all. Let's move let's keep Pascal at my 3. We're gonna put J-Dub at my 4.
Okay. I like that one.
No. J-Dub's at my 3 and Pascal's at my 4. I like that a little bit more.
Okay. Well, I'm torn between two separate guys on this one. You know what?
My defense is cooked.
This guy, he has more scoring output than the other 2 guys as of this postseason. Give me OG Anunoby at my 3.
Okay. At your 3.
Yeah. Dude, my starting 5, Hallie, Ant, OG, Chet, and Miles Turner. Woo!
All right.
Bro.
Well then for for defense at my. You know what? I'm gonna stick with this so I can have a rotational piece as a big man. Give me Nas Reed.
Nas Reed.
Everyone's
Okay. Give me Lou Dort as my 6th man.
okay.
Shout out Lou Dort, man.
I think I need a rim protector no matter what. So give me Rudy Gobert.
Rudy as your 8th. Okay.
Yeah.
You know what? Let's might as well add on to this right here. Or you know what? I don't know if I should. Give me Jaden McDaniels here. Give me
Okay.
Jaden McDaniels.
At my
I got
2,
defense for
at my 2,
days.
give me Andrew Nimhard.
Why did I already know you were saving your 2? Why did I know you're saving your 2 for him already? I had a feeling.
Yeah, I was like, okay, I'm gonna hold him. I think he'll fall.
Bro, my defense is insane. I kind of need. You know what? I feel like this is a great pick right here. Give me a Julius Randle. Give me Julius Randle as my 8th man right here. I like this. Somebody off the bench that could get some easy buckets for me. I like this. I like this right here. Ooh, oh my goodness. I'm forgetting somebody else. Camera, hello? Are you going to start working? All right, thank you. Oh, I forgot.
Did you already take Josh Hart?
No.
I'm taking Josh Hart for hustle, bro.
All right, well, I'm taking somebody else on New York too. Give me Mikal Bridges.
Oh, dude, I totally forgot about Mikal Bridges, to be honest with you. That's a dub for you. I totally forgot about Mikal Bridges.
That's I'm like, cool. I'll take him.
I guess for my last spot, I'll add on. I want a tweener, bro. I need someone that's gonna play kind of everything. Give me Obi Toppin.
Obi Toppin. Okay, I'm trying to look at your team right here. Okay, you have Shea, Andrew Nimhard, Pascal, J-Dub, Cat, Jalen Brunson, Nas, Rudy, Josh Hart, Obi Toppin. Okay, so I have separate options. I could go Alex Caruso here. I could go Kason Wallace. I could go Dante DiVincenzo. I could go. I go Deuce McBride. No, I'm kidding.
I kind of want to redo my freaking bench.
Let me go. Let me go Alex Caruso here. I need a vet. Not trying to glaze my team, but bro, I feel like my team's whooping.
Well, I want to move. I'm moving players around. I'm gonna move Cat back to my 4.
Okay. Okay, Cat back to the 4.
Back to the 4.
Okay. J-Dub at the 3.
Yeah, but I'm putting Nas Reed at my 5.
Okay. Or J-Dub's off the bench now.
No, J-Dub's at my 3. Pascal Siakam's coming off the bench.
That is crazy having Pascal and Jalen Brunson off the bench.
Oh, I like that. I like my team a lot better now.
Jay Nimhard, J-Dub, Cat, and Nas. Talk about just stretching out to.
I'm taking Obi off. I'm taking Obi off. I know we already drafted, but this guy's still available. I'm going Dante DiVincenzo.
Yeah. Nah, I have bodies to throw at Shea and J-Dub. You have Ant, OG, Lou Dort, Jaden McDaniels, Mikal Bridges, Alex Caruso, Julius Randle. Nah, you got bodies. You have bodies to throw. Hallie, Ant, OG, Chet, Miles Turner, Lou Dort, Jaden McDaniels, Julius Randle, Mikal Bridges, Alex Caruso. Bro. Woo.
I don't know, bro. I like my
defense.
I like my team now the way that I moved it around, bro. I like my team now. My team still has a defense, bro.
Nah, I feel like mine has better defense.
Yeah, but off the bench, I got Brunson and Pascal Siakam, bro. That's nasty. Then I got shooters with Dante and Josh Hart. Josh Hart gonna run the court.
Yeah, that is true. I got really my only bench creators Julius Randle, Mikal Bridges. But
Yeah, that's what I was
when you
looking at. I was
when you
looking
have
at like
Ant and Hallie,
that's why
when
I
you
was
have Ant
looking
and
at it.
Hallie,
I was like, dude, Jalen Brunson's the only person that's gonna be like handling the ball off my bench. I was like, hold on. I was like, let me move some things around real quick.
yeah,
So I
get
moved
Dante in there.
Nas to the 4, Nas to the 5, and catch a 4, and then Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson was
Yeah, no,
J- and s-
that's not bad. That's not bad. I like that right there. Hmm. I don't know. I feel like trying to think. Is there somebody else missing? I I don't think there's nobody else missing. I just feel like somebody's
Neesmith
missing.
maybe, Aaron Neesmith maybe.
Yeah, maybe. But all right, Josh. Any
No,
last words before we
that's
get out of
really
here?
not. There's really not no one else missing, to be honest.
No, I don't think so. Josh, any last words before we get out of here?
Nah, I think I'm good. I
All
don't feel
right,
like
yeah,
talking
no.
to y'all no more.
All right, yeah, no. But before we get out of here, find us on Twitter at Flying Garcia 100 underscore Alfonso 03. Find us on Twitch, Discord, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube under TSESA for the so-called sports analyst. Whether you listen to this live or another day, we appreciate it. Make sure you share this to anyone that likes sports, and you guys will hear from us soon as far as how we think this playoff series is going, who's going to maybe make the finals, and maybe something else down the road. But we'll see you guys soon. You guys take care.